It just got very real as Brian Windhorst reveals a huge Giannis Antetokounmpo report on Get Up ESPN that labels the Rockets as the top team to watch this offseason when it comes to a Giannis trade. We tell you all the details of what Windhorst said today on Rockets Digest, and I'm so happy you chose to join us. We have gained so many subscribers over the past even 4 days. In fact, 381 subscribers. We're at 441 subscribers right now. We're trying to go for 1,000 subscribers by the end of this week. So if you're not a part of these 441 subscribers already, well, today is your day to join the community because we're giving you Rockets content, news, rumors, and information every single day at this point. So join us. Now, Brian Windhorst today on Get Up ESPN talked about Giannis as a very big piece in the 2025 offseason. Obviously, we had the Shams report this morning that said that he was open to a trade, that Giannis is most likely going to be moved. But what exactly does a trade look like? Well, we've talked about so many in terms of mock trades and people putting things out there. But Brian Windhorst, who is an ESPN insider, had a lot to say on it this morning, and I really want to talk about it and see and break down everything that leads to the Rockets being the top team for this Giannis trade. We start with the first quote here coming from Windhorst saying, quote, "Two things you have to know about the Bucks when considering a trade. Number one, the Bucks do not control their first-round pick for 5 years. That means that if the Bucks are going to trade him, thinking that they are going to tank for the next 3 years is not going to happen. They need quality players. And for that matter, they need quality players who are not insanely young. So Whitmore and Shepherd are great assets to have for the Rockets and are great trade values to a lot of teams. However, I don't think they're going to be as valued as maybe other teams would have them compared to the Bucks because they're not looking to rebuild unless you can kind of sweeten the pot in some ways. So what they really need to do is give them players of now. We're talking Jabari Smith Jr. We're talking potentially Jalen Green. From the reports also this morning, it sounds like Jalen Green is not going to be moved, which I think is a great thing. But Jabari Smith Jr. is definitely on the table for his pretty much his age. And his contract value coming up is, I believe, going to be more than the Rockets are willing to pay him. So I would not be surprised if he is moved, especially in a trade for Giannis. That's where we continue on with this saying, Windhorst said, the other thing that you need to know is if you're going to trade Giannis to a super team, getting that team's draft assets is not exciting because they are not going to be very high picks for the next few years. He's got a point. If you are trading Giannis to a super team, let's say Boston, let's say New York, let's say LA, and I know those aren't super teams, but teams that are good right now, their draft picks mean nothing to the Bucks because, oh, cool, we got an extra first-round pick at pick number 28. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense for them to make that trade. So if you want to trade it to these younger teams, you kind of need to have valuable players, first of all, in draft assets, which, seems like the Rockets have a lot of those, and they're not their own. Phoenix, Oklahoma City, Dallas, Oklahoma City, Philadelphia. They have pick swaps galore. They have picks from other teams. And that's where it leads into the next quote and shows you why Houston is such a big piece in this puzzle. We continue on here with what Windhorst said. Quote, so you are going to look at teams that have players to trade and other teams draft assets that they can trade besides theirs. San Antonio and Houston, San Antonio and Houston, San Antonio and Houston. Pay attention there, end quote. He's putting it out front of the table. The two top teams that Giannis will be traded to this offseason is San Antonio or Houston. There's really a couple other teams you could talk about, which we'll get into that in just a moment. But if you look at Giannis as a whole and you talk about the Bucks, yes, we got the quote. He wants to play in LA. He would like to play in New York. He wants to play in Boston or somewhere where the market is high and the teams are good. But that's just not on the table when it talks about what the Bucks need from this trade as well. Because I like to talk about it all the time. Yes, players have so much more of a pressure and a voice in these trades than probably any other league. You're not talking about the MLB and saying that Freddie Freeman wants to be traded to this team and that's going to happen. You don't get that. In the NBA, you do. Players have their rights to say, hey, I would like to be traded there. Can we work a deal out? And that is a thing that usually happens. But the deal has to be good on both sides, not just what the player wants, but what the team wants. And the Bucks want what the Rockets and Spurs have. That's what they need because they have good players, they have good draft assets, and I believe the Rockets have more than San Antonio to offer in terms of players, in terms of assets. And the biggest thing to me, and the reason why I think if it came down, the Bucks said, hey, you got to choose between Houston and San Antonio. Where are you going? He's going to pick Houston because the Rockets were the number 2 team in the Western Conference last year. They are still so young, so good, going to be good for the next 5 years. Whereas, yes, San Antonio has Wemby. Yes, they had an interesting season. De'Aaron Fox, there's so many things that are question marks with them. And yes, they could be good next year. But I repeat, question marks. It's not guaranteed. The only problem is this, and he said it and Windhorst said it this morning. Milwaukee does not control their next 5 first-round picks. Well, who does? Well, let's start with the main team that has those first 5-round picks, and that is going to be New Orleans. So in 2026, they have the pick swap rights. In 2027, they have the pick swaps rights. And I believe, I couldn't find it, but I believe they had the pick swap rights for this year. That may have been traded in previous trades, but either way, the next 3 years is pretty much controlled by New Orleans for the Milwaukee picks. And that's where the third team gets added. And we mentioned this in a video yesterday that a 3-team trade is very, very likely if Giannis and the Rockets are in the same picture. And that's where Windhorst kind of goes with his next quote as we get into that, saying, quote, you may have to go to New Orleans, try to get the Milwaukee stuff out of New Orleans, and then offer it back to the Bucks. Of course, the Pelicans could make their own offer, but what I suspect they are going to try and do is a 3-team trade, end quote. I hate to say it, but the trade that we talked about yesterday, and I believe I have it here, pull it right back up for you. That's a very likely scenario in this interesting case scenario because, yes, these are a lot of assets for Houston to give up. But I think when the Bucks are talking trades about Giannis, this is probably the first trade they're going to look at is a 3-team trade between the Bucks, the Pelicans, and the Rockets. Do I think it's going to be this trade? I have my doubts because of how much Houston is giving up. But at the same time, 3-team trades in the NBA are very interesting because a lot of times it's really a 2-team trade that needs that third team to put in some extra assets. For this case scenario, the Rockets in theory need the Bucks picks back to then give them to Milwaukee to receive Giannis. So, like I said, it's almost a 2-team trade because the main people getting assets in that trade are going to be the Bucks and the Rockets in terms of star caliber right now. But the Pelicans are still going to get Fred VanVleet, Jabari Smith, and Reed Shepherd, and a slew of first-round picks themselves. I mean, they're getting a good amount in this. But when you talk about star power, the Bucks are getting 2 young guys who I see as future stars, if not stars right now. I know Zion's had his history, but whatever. Jalen Green is a star, and I don't think he's going to be traded, but this could easily happen. And then a couple of first-round picks that they wanted back, plus one from Houston in 2028. So there's so much to talk about in terms of Giannis, what a trade could look like, how a trade could go down. But at the end of the day, I think it's really up to you Rockets fans. Do you want Giannis? Is that something that you could see as a future player in Houston? Because I kind of go back and forth. I got to be quite frank with you. I think that Giannis is a needle mover. And what I mean by that is he could come in and next year the Rockets could easily be the top team in the West. They could go take down the Thunder or the Nuggets or Ant and the Timberwolves, or even the Warriors if they had to play them again. I believe that Giannis comes in and you immediately are the favorite to be in the Western Conference Finals, if not the team out of the Western Conference going to the Finals. But at the same time, we saw what this team did this year. We saw what they were able to do. And yes, Giannis' stats are otherworldly in terms of what he was able to do this year and what he was able to do in the playoffs this season, leading in points and rebounds in round number 1 while only playing in 5 games and not having Damian Lillard by his side for that last one. It's a lot to give up. And yes, it does make you an immediate title contender. But that comes down to Rafael Stone, the Houston Rockets organization, Ime Udoka, and honestly, I want to put us in there and say, Rockets fans, Do we believe that this team is going to be a championship caliber team for the next 5, 6, 7 years? Or do they need some help? Because if you want to talk about making decisions, there are a bunch of free agents that you can sign this season. There are littler trades that you can make without breaking up your young core. There are things coming next year that can happen, but when you talk about players that can push the needle, that are on the market this year, I don't see that being the same next year. I don't see a Giannis level player being on the market next year. I don't see a Kevin Durant being on the market next year. In some ways, especially with the way Giannis fits with this Houston Rockets organization, who needs a scorer and wants to keep their rebounding identity, which fits perfectly with Giannis. Double-double last year, averaging points and rebounds. It's really now or never in terms of what you believe as a Rockets organization, in terms of we can win with this team or we need help. And that's honestly up to Rafael Stone and Ime Udoka. And I couldn't tell you right now which way they're leading, because it's one of the hardest decisions right now to make, and it's really tough because the team has done what it's supposed to do. It's gotten to a point where they are right here and ready to be a star. And now it's up to the organization to make the right moves. The team has done it. It's the organization's turn to step up and make the smart move, which is where we end it here. What is that smart move? Let me know down in the comments section. Once again, hit that subscribe button. We're at 441 subscribers. I cannot thank you enough. Me and Donovan have been doing a lot of work over the past month now, and we appreciate the support and, of course, the feedback as well in the comment section. So hit that subscribe button if you have not already. We're going for 1,000 subscribers before the end of the week. Obviously, we got the draft lottery tonight. We've got so many videos coming your way, and I promise you, you're not going to want to miss what the Rockets do and what Rockets Digest does over this summer. We appreciate you, and we will see you next time here on Rockets Digest. Peace out, guys.